Welcome to Capitol Catch-Up, the podcast that breaks down what's happening on Capitol Hill. I'm Victor.
And I'm Lainey. Today we're walking through a slate of recent legislation that's moving through Congress, from rail safety to maternal health, from national defense to a couple of World Cup-related bills. We'll explain what each measure does, why it matters to everyday Americans, and how it travels through the legislative process.
Let's start with House Resolution 798. This resolution expresses support for designating the week of September 15 to 21, 2025 as Rail Safety Week. The goal is to raise awareness about highway rail grade crossing incidents, which historically have caused a significant number of fatalities and injuries.
Right. Grade crossing accidents have been a persistent safety issue since the early days of railroads. By designating a dedicated week, the resolution hopes to encourage public education campaigns and possibly spur state and local agencies to invest in crossing upgrades, like better signaling or grade separation projects. Though a resolution doesn't allocate funding, it can set the tone for future legislation or appropriations.
Moving on, the House has introduced two World Cup-themed bills, House Bill 7986, the Save the World Cup Act, and House Bill 7988, the Safe Passage to the World Cup Act. Both are aimed at supporting the United States' involvement in the FIFA World Cup and ensuring safe travel for teams and fans.
The titles suggest two angles. One likely focused on preserving the event's integrity, perhaps through funding for security or infrastructure, and the other on guaranteeing safe passage, which could involve coordination with transportation agencies. Since the text isn't detailed in our source, we can't say exactly what provisions are included, but the intent is clear: to smooth the logistics of a major international sporting event that draws millions of visitors and generates significant economic activity.
Next up is House Bill 8026, which would amend Section 111 of Title 18 of the United States Code to create a federal offense for obstructing certain law enforcement vehicles.
That amendment is a response to incidents where drivers have interfered with police or emergency vehicles, sometimes leading to dangerous collisions. By making obstruction a federal crime, the bill aims to give law enforcement agencies a stronger tool to prosecute such behavior, potentially deterring reckless actions on the road. For everyday drivers, it means an added legal consequence if they fail to yield to a marked police vehicle.
Shifting to national security, we have House Bill 5167, the Intelligence Authorization Act for fiscal year 2026. This bill authorizes funding for the intelligence community and outlines priorities for the upcoming fiscal year.
Authorization bills like this are the annual budget for agencies such as the CIA, NSA, and the intelligence components of the Department of Defense. They don't appropriate money directly. That's done in a separate appropriations bill, but they set the ceiling and policy direction. For the public, this means continued funding for intelligence operations that protect national security, while also providing congressional oversight of how that money is spent.
Complementing that is House Bill 6563, the Terrorist Watch List Modification Review Act. While the title is the only detail we have, it suggests a review process for changes to the terrorist watch list.
Historically, watch lists have been a point of contention because they can affect travel, employment, and civil liberties. A review act could introduce more transparency or procedural safeguards, which would be significant for anyone who's ever been placed on a watch list or is concerned about due process rights.
On the defense side, Senate Bill 1071 is the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2026. Like the Intelligence Authorization, this is the primary annual bill that outlines defense policy, sets spending limits, and authorizes programs for the Department of Defense.
The NDAA is one of the most comprehensive pieces of legislation each year. It covers everything from procurement of new weapons systems to military personnel benefits. For everyday Americans, the NDAA can affect jobs at defense contractors, the availability of military health care, and even the location of bases that impact local economies.
Let's talk about the environment. Senate Bill 2643, the Seedlings for Sustainable Habitat Restoration Act of 2025, aims to support sustainable habitat restoration.
The act likely funds the production and planting of native seedlings to restore ecosystems. Think wetlands, forests, and prairie lands. Historically, large-scale reforestation and habitat projects have helped combat climate change, improve water quality, and support biodiversity. For communities near restoration sites, this can mean healthier air and water, as well as potential job creation and conservation work.
Turning to health, there are several maternal health-focused bills. House Bill 7973, the Omnibus Act, is a package intended to address maternal health disparities.
The term omnibus suggests a comprehensive approach, perhaps funding for prenatal care, research into maternal mortality, and programs targeting high-risk populations. Maternal mortality rates in the United States have been rising, especially among Black women, so legislation like this could have a direct impact on reducing preventable deaths.
In the same vein, we have House Bill 8024, the Maternal Vaccination Act, and Senate Bill 4132, also titled the Maternal Vaccinations Act. Both aim to improve vaccination rates among pregnant people.
Vaccines during pregnancy, like flu and Tdap, protect both the mother and the newborn. By encouraging higher uptake, these bills could lower rates of infant hospitalizations and maternal complications. The Senate version may differ in funding mechanisms or program details, but the shared goal is clear: better health outcomes for mothers and babies.
Adding to maternal health, Senate Bill 958, the Tech to Save Moms Act, suggests a focus on technology solutions for maternal care.
While we don't have specifics, the title implies investment in digital health tools, perhaps remote monitoring, telemedicine platforms, or data analytics to identify at-risk pregnancies. Such technology could expand access to care in rural areas and help clinicians intervene earlier.
On the research front, we have the NIH Improve Act appearing in both chambers, House Bill 6238 and Senate Bill 3254.
The duplication indicates a bipartisan effort to strengthen the National Institutes of Health. Improve likely stands for a specific set of priorities, perhaps increasing funding for basic research, streamlining grant processes, or enhancing data sharing. For scientists and patients alike, more robust NIH funding can accelerate medical breakthroughs and improve public health.
Finally, Senate Bill 4165, the Educational Visa Transparency Act of 2026, addresses transparency for educational visas.
This could involve requiring schools to disclose more information about the costs, outcomes, and compliance of programs that enroll international students on F1 visas. Greater transparency helps prospective students make informed decisions and could protect U.S. institutions from fraud. It also touches on broader immigration policy debates that affect universities and local economies that host international students.
Before we wrap up, let's briefly walk through how these bills move through Congress, since many listeners find the process confusing.
A bill, whether a House bill or a Senate bill, first gets introduced by a member of that chamber. It's then referred to one or more committees with jurisdiction over the subject matter. For example, the Rail Safety Resolution would likely go to the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, while the NIH Improve Act would land in the Energy and Commerce Committee in the House and the Health, Education, Labor and Pensions Committee in the Senate.
The committee holds hearings, may amend the bill, and then votes on whether to report it back to the full chamber. If reported, the bill is placed on the calendar for debate. Members can offer additional amendments on the floor, and then the chamber votes.
If the House and Senate pass different versions, a conference committee works out the differences. The final, unified bill returns to both chambers for a final vote. Once both approve, it's sent to the president, who can sign it into law, veto it, or let it become law without a signature after 10 days, if Congress is in session.
Understanding that pipeline helps listeners see why some bills stall in committee while others move quickly, often because of bipartisan support, clear funding, or alignment with the administration's priorities.
To sum up, today we covered a diverse set of legislation: a Safety Awareness Week for railroads, 2 World Cup-related bills, a new federal offense protecting law enforcement vehicles, funding and oversight measures for intelligence and defense, environmental restoration, multiple maternal health initiatives, a push for transparency in educational visas, and a bipartisan effort to boost NIH research.
Listeners should watch for upcoming committee hearings, especially on the Omnibus Act, the NIH Improve Act, and the National Defense Authorization Act, as those will shape the final language. Keep an eye on any floor votes scheduled in the next few weeks, and remember that even resolutions like the Rail Safety Week can set the stage for future funding bills.
That's all for today's Capitol Catch-Up. Stay informed, stay engaged, and we'll be back with the next round of congressional developments.
Thanks for listening.